So here's what I want to talk about today. Listings, 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 listings. Listings are the name of the game. Dr. Karen has been doing this 24 years, and I'm going to tell you listings are the name of the game, especially with the way the loss element from that right there. You want to figure out how you can control the inventory. And so here's some questions that a seller should ask the agent when they're interviewed. But let's say the seller don't know what to ask you. So what I'm saying to you is add this in your presentation. I am going to give you a few questions, but I want you to add this in your presentation. So therefore you don't have to worry about it, because again, the seller don't know sometimes what to ask you. Remember, this is not something they do every day. So I'm going to give you a few questions. For those who don't follow me, please subscribe to me. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, the owner, one of the owners of Align Right Realty K1 Group, and I am also the owner of Urban Real Estate School. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to me. But here are a few questions that I do want to ask, okay? And I want you to implement this in your listing presentation if you don't have it listed. Number one, what services do you offer? In this day and time, you want to bring value to your seller. So let the agent, let the seller know all the services that you do offer. And it doesn't matter what it is. If you come to all your showings, which I think you should come to all your showing, is if you follow up every week with your seller, because communication is valuable. When you tell a seller that, hey, I am going to reach out to you every week, I would call it Tuesday Talk. And I tell you, when I do that, even after the deal closes, the client always talks about me, and they love that. So whatever day, make it creative. And I would do Tuesday Talk. So every Tuesday, I would call my client, whether I have information or whether I don't have any information, I would always call them. I would also let them know that, hey, every week I'm going to, if there's a change in the market, I am going to show you. Even if there's no change, I might do a Zoom with them or Google Meet and then go over it, say there's no change. So whatever it is, write down the services that you offer and put them in your listing presentation. So the key is there's nothing missing. And when you have information, so say for instance, if a seller asks you a question, put that in part of your listing presentation, because that's what we call an objection handler. That more than likely, if a seller asks that question, then another seller may want to ask that same question again. So again, every time I hear something, I'm always adding it into my listing presentation. So whatever services that you offer, then implement them and put them in your listing presentation. If you don't know it, you know what Dr. K says, Google, Chat, GPT, whatever it is, and make sure whatever you put in there that is true and you are honoring those services. Don't just put in services just to make yourself look good, but make sure you honor those services. How well do you know the market? This is one of the reasons that when we're talking about Spark, and that's a whole nother subject. Again, if you follow me, you'll find out what Spark is. So how well do you know the local market? This is one of the things that we always say, know your local market, know it. So always try to go after your target audience. So say for instance, if it's Plantation, if it's Pembroke Pines, if it's whatever area that you want to market, then know that market, know how many properties was for sold, know how many properties was canceled, know how many properties was withdrawn, know how many is coming soon, know who the mayor is in that area, know what's going on, know the market upside down, know the area upside down, know how many restaurants there are. You can do that. But let's say you get a property in an area that you don't know the market. then here's how you want to say, talk to the seller. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand that you want me to know the market, but we have a team of agents and we know the market. And so what we do a mastermind meeting every week. Always try to make sure what you're saying is true. We do a mastermind meeting and they talk about what's going on in that particular area. You can come in from that approach. And let's say you don't have a team. It's always ways that you can be honest and be creative. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what happens is you're right. I haven't worked this area, but normally who sells the property is the selling agent, which is the buyer's agent. So they're going to come in there. That is why when I sit down with you, I am going to go over everything with you. So when I start asking questions on, well, why did you like this property? Well, tell me some features about your kitchen. Did you ever do any entertainment? So whatever you tell me, I am going to paint that picture. And when I market your property, I am going to tell the world about your property, because at the end of the day, whether I know the market or not, you can tell me every beautiful point, every thing that's going on about it. So when we present it to the world, then people will want to come in and buy your house. So even if I didn't know the market, I'm going to tell you this is why we're going to be able to sell it. So again, be truthful and be creative. And at the end of the day, it is always good to tell the truth. I just don't know your market, but there are some things that you should do before you even sit down. You should have enough information so that you can learn the area. So you should know at least the active, the closed sales, the canceled, the withdrawn, what houses were sold, how many houses sold or canceled in that subdivision. That's part of your research. And you're able to answer that question right there. So I'm saying you should know something. And if you start creating a market, your niche, then you will learn the market. But just say somebody wants you to sell and you have not studied that area. There are some basic things that you can get from our multiple listing service. What will our listing contract include? What will our listing contract include? I always use this. I'm like the preacher in real estate. And I've seen it, been there, done it. We sometimes, this is the truth, we like to tell our clients sign on the dotted line and send it to me. We like to send it electronically and we do nothing else with it. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Even if you don't know the whole listing agreement, again, what you should, especially if you're going to master the listings, you're going to have to learn these things, is that go over things that's important in the listing agreement. Go over the compensation. Go over what, you all agree to pay the other agent. If anything, commission is negotiable. Compensation is negotiable. That's it at the end of the day. That's all I want to talk about in reference to that. Go over the date that you all are going to keep the property listed under your brokerage. Go over those things. Go over what they're going to leave in the property. Go over the different things. Go over what type of marketing that you're doing. Go over those things. Go over the conditional termination. Go over the unconditional termination. Don't skip that. That's important, because sometimes a seller will tell you, you did not tell me, you did not say that. So I'm making a suggestion, go over those things when it comes to what's being said in that listing agreement. Do not take it for granted that they know. And another thing, let them know when you're doing the listing presentation that it may be crazy, but what you're going to do, you're going to go over it with them maybe once every 2 weeks, because most times when you mention it to something, you mention something to someone once, they don't remember it. You don't remember it. That's just it. You say it to Dr. Karen. If you don't say it over and over and over, then I may not remember it. So you want to definitely make sure you do that. Okay. Here's another question. Do you have references? Give them references. Okay. Give them references. But Dr. Karen, I never sold a house before. Give them somebody that you've done business with. Give them your colleague. Give them an old employer. Give them references on the type of person, your character, on who somebody that you work with, and allow them to get the phone number, get the email address so they can do follow up with you. Don't be afraid to do it. Give them the follow up. Give them follow up, follow up, follow up. So there was just a few questions that sellers may ask you, but if they don't ask you, either way it goes, put it in your listing presentation. That way, when they're listening to you, you are making sure that you answer as many questions as that you think that they want to know. So that's what I want to say. Just make sure you put as much as you can in your listing presentation. And I'll say this in closing. Make sure that you listen to your seller. Listen to your seller, because a lot of times all we do is we go and do the listing presentation and we try to solve a problem without even knowing the problem. So the more you listen to your seller, the more you can solve their problem and the more you can get them to the finish line on selling their house. Again, take a nugget and run with it. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, one of the brokers, owners at Align Right Realty K1 Group, and owner at Urban Real Estate School. And that is it. And always subscribe. And thank you so much for listening to me.